Hello, and we're back. Back to me, talking to the camera. Hopefully you're listening. So, I'm going to tell you something very important. This is a very deep truth that probably should have been told when we were all born. It's a very important truth, and that is there will be suffering. You, me, all of us will suffer. I know, it's starting off on a bad note. Just kidding, there's no good or bad. So, what does that mean, Zach? Why are you talking about suffering all the time, Zach? You're depressing me. So in my town that I live in right now, this morning there was a shooting at a middle school. A student came in. This is what they're saying, this is what the news is saying so far, is that a student came in, had a gun, he shot 2 other students, ended up shooting a teacher or maybe 2 teachers, and I think one of the teachers died. They reascended, they reemerged into non-physical, so I know I seem very disconnected or not compassionate, but it's coming. So as soon as I heard this, I thought to myself, if I was a 12-year-old child, if I was a 13-year-old child, what would be happening in my life? What kind of suffering would I be going through? What kind of experiences would I be having? That I would need to bring a gun to school and shoot people because I felt so lost. I had no other options. I felt like I had no other options. And instead of immediately thinking that the kid, this is where my head went at least, instead of thinking that kid's such a bad kid, why would that kid shoot somebody? Oh, I feel so bad for the people that died or got shot. I thought, what kind of experiences is this young child having that they are so lost and so confused that their last resort is to take their parents' gun, bring it to school, and shoot others. And so it got me thinking, we're all suffering. This child is suffering immensely to have to engage in such an act that would take the life of another person. How badly this child might feel later as soon as he or she is aware of what they had done. And even before that, what had transpired in their life path up until now to where they needed to engage in such an act. And I was thinking to myself, and then this little thought just came into my head, that it's all suffering. Like the Buddha says, all of life is suffering. And it's not so much that it's suffering in the sense that we just have to suffer and it has to be in this negative or the way we would deem it as bad. Because if we see our suffering as a journey, as an indicator of where we are in our lives, or where we are in our thoughts, and how our emotions are dictating how connected those thoughts are to source, or how disconnected they are. So, I don't know where I just went with that, I just totally spaced out. So here's what I wanted to say. If we know that all of life is suffering, I'm suffering. I suffer a lot. I just, today was my last day at my job. I don't feel bad at all. I feel actually really good and liberated. But, you know, I don't know how I'm going to make enough money to pay the bills. I don't know. But that can either lend to our suffering. So our suffering it can go two ways. Here we go. Now Zach's energy's kicking in. Suffering can lead us into two directions. It can lead us into more suffering, into fear, into worry, into concern of the unknown. Or it can lead us into love, into realizing what we truly want. It can be the contrast to demonstrate to us what we are truly wanting. So I can focus on the suffering, and I can focus on the not enough money, and I can focus on the da-da-da-da-da-da. I can focus on the bad health. I can focus on the disharmony within my body. I can focus on the not having my lover. Or I can focus on the wanting that is burning from my soul, from my heart, that is God wanting to experience itself through this contrasting suffering experience, in order to know that we truly want this type of lover, or our true lover, or a different job, or more money, or a harmonious body. So we all know that we're suffering. If we can recognize this inalienable human truth, and we can stop resisting the suffering. All of us, ask yourself, do I want to suffer? Truly ask yourself. Pause this video and say, do I want to suffer? And see what your answer is. Really, none of us want to suffer. But if we can accept that this life experience is going to cause us to suffer a little bit, then the suffering has no more power over us. Right? Then we can recognize, okay, I'm going to have experiences in my life. They're going to be contrasting experiences that I may not want to experience, that I may not want to have. However, I'm not going to resist them. I'm going to allow them to be, and I'm going to allow them to inspire me towards a new direction. As soon as we can accept this, all of life is suffering, then suffering no longer has power over us, and then the suffering no longer exists, and we can experience joy. Sure, we still might be worried or concerned or irritated at times, but if we're conscious of that, okay, I'm irritated, so what does that mean? I'm irritated because my thoughts now are in disconnection with what Source is thinking for me. Therefore, I'm suffering. Oh, I'm fearful. I'm worried of the unknown. Okay, well, Source is telling me, no, you're in perfect harmony. You are on the right path. Just keep walking. Right? We think, oh, I love my job, but I don't know I don't know how I'm going to make more money. I'm worried about how I'm going to make more money. Let the universe inspire you. Inspire, not expire, but inspire. Let it inspire you so that you can move with life instead of resisting what could be, what will be, what has been. And ultimately, if we all know we're suffering, we can ask ourselves, I'm suffering. I know that everyone else is suffering. What can I do to alleviate others' suffering? That's really what it boils down to. I know that at times I suffer. I know that many others are currently suffering in their life experience. What can I do, maybe even if just within myself, to alleviate the suffering of others? If we're all in this world together, we're all on this one rock floating in the middle of nothingness, together. What can I do to alleviate the suffering of others? If I have children, how can I teach my children, through my own example, to be compassionate, to exude love, to understand everyone's point of view, so that we're less likely to judge each other, so that we're less likely to berate each other, to tease each other. Who knows what this child went through? Who knows if they were getting beaten, if they were getting constantly teased? And they had no other choice. They felt like they had no other choice. But just think, if you or I had known this child and stepped in and said, no matter what anyone tells you, you are beautiful. I know that doesn't mean much right now, but truly, I love you with all of my heart. Nothing will ever stop that. You are beautiful and perfect exactly as you are. You have the most beautiful gifts and perfect gifts from the creative source that is your highest self, flowing through you, wanting to express itself. Sure, a 13-year-old might not know what that means, but you expressing that within yourself, seeing that within the child, feeling that affects that child or another person. So we're all suffering. We're always going to suffer. It's just part of this experience. We can look at suffering as a negative thing. You know, it comes back to perception. It really is a negative thing. There's war happening. We can look at that as negative, or we can look at that as change. People rising against a tyrannical regime. We can look at homelessness, we can look at dis-ease as a negative thing, or we can look at it as a way of God understanding itself, recognizing its own power. You are God. You watching this right now are God. You might be looking at it through an ego perspective, but nonetheless, you are God. And right now, God gets to experience itself in me, or in the trees, or in anything. And so, through that suffering, we can then strengthen that understanding of God knowing itself. It's just experience. But what can we do to help others alleviate their pain? Even if it's a simple smile, even if it's a simple recognition within our own selves of their divinity. It's a good question. What can we do to alleviate other people's suffering? And that's it. I went on a little longer, I rambled a little more than I should have, because I'm tired, not as focused. But I always appreciate you guys watching. I love it so much. Love all the comments, love all the questions, and everyone's own opinion. It's perfect, it's beautiful, it's fantastic. Love the interactions. It's wonderful. So, comments, questions, concerns, write them in the bottom. Or, if you really like, you can subscribe to my crazy ramblings. Alright, I'm going to take a nap. I love you guys very much. I appreciate you all so very dearly. Truly. You are beautiful. You are perfect. You are divine. And never sway from that. Always remember that. I love you so much. See you later.